Can I first say how much I really love our community. Old Orchard Beach has a very big heart. We are about helping others, bringing people together, making an impact in the lives of our neighbors. This strong sense of community is unlike many other places. Oftentimes, when people move away from Maine, they comment on how they miss this particular piece above all else. There is something special about bumping into your neighbor at the post office, or seeing students walking home from school, attending the chili fest on the pier to benefit the OOB Community Animal Watch, or grabbing a melt-in-your-mouth cinnamon bun at Cafe 64, or witnessing the flag-raising ceremonies in Veterans Memorial Park that makes you feel connected to something much larger than yourself individually. Old Orchard Beach has a very special place in my heart. Long before I was around, my grandparents made this place their home. I have very vivid memories of family reunions and vacations here as a child. My grandfather lived over on Melvin Avenue for many years before he passed away a few years ago. This was the place I felt connected to something. Old Orchard Beach meant to me family, love, fellowship, joy, and happiness, and it still means that to me today. Which is why I love giving back, speaking and reading to students at Jameson, LaRanger, and OOB High School, providing college scholarships for area high school students and grants for local arts classrooms, and as vice president of Friends of the Ballpark, working with a fantastic group of folks to revitalize our amazing community resource. Having the honor of representing Old Orchard Beach in the Maine State Senate is something that I take with the utmost responsibility. Now, more than ever before, we need to elect leaders willing to stand up for what we believe in. This shouldn't come as a shock to many of you in the room, but our democratic institutions are under assault by big money special interests and complacent politicians. The will of the voters is being completely ignored and the voter-approved referendum shredded before even having a chance to become law. The other side wants to talk about big government versus small government, but let me help educate them. There isn't a bigger form of government than a small group of politicians or government officials cherry-picking which election results to accept as reality. It's a dangerous sentiment for our political system if we turn over the keys of our ballot box to anyone other than the people and the clerks that count them. Every step of the way, I have fought this clear abuse of legislative power, including the army of lobbyists that descended upon my committee. The corporate powers that be run the show. The special interest group and lobbyists with the largest checkbook has the greatest access and influence over public policy decision-making in our state. Political leaders spend so much time fundraising for the next election, there's even a name for it. It's called call time. My colleagues play this game, but I refuse to. I refuse to accept one dime from the very corporate interests we're supposed to be regulating, and instead of perpetually fundraising, my focus is on honest to good legislating. The needs of the people in our community come first. Also, there is a revolving door of former lawmakers becoming lobbyists and lobbyists becoming lawmakers, and the lines get blurred of who works for who. We don't have to merely accept this, though, as just the way it is. We can and will change this broken system. As your senator, I've introduced bills to ban sitting legislators from accepting lobbyist contributions, from operating political action committees, and to strengthen ethics rules about when legislators can become lobbyists. While there is a collective eye roll every time I introduce something like this, a common sense campaign finance reform, it's worth pushing for the envelope for what we can achieve, even if it takes just a little bit longer to get things passed. I won't give up, and I hope you don't as well. And along those lines, and this is particularly relevant recently, I will not be intimidated by lobbyists, including one sent up from Virginia by the NRA.
Yes.
That does happen. And also, progressive shouldn't be a dirty word. In fact, I wear it as a badge of honor. And while I might be in the minority, this is how I operate in the Senate. As the ranking Democrat on the Taxation Committee, I was on the front lines of trying to preserve the progressive tax on the wealthy to pay for public education, successfully increasing the homestead exemption by 33% to reduce the burden of property taxes, and holding multinational corporations accountable when they ask for millions of dollars in unnecessary taxpayer handouts. Because if you're making $3 billion in profits, you are not the one who needs a tax break.
Right.
You know who needs a tax break? Our seniors, as the governor continues to refuse to release the affordable senior housing bond. Our students, where the state is still not providing 55% of the cost of public education funding. And our most vulnerable, who are desperately in need of the expansion of health care that was recently passed by voters of the great state of Maine. That's who needs the help. Meanwhile, we must keep an eye on the Trump administration and push back every chance we get. As a senator who represents the coastal communities of Old Orchard Beach and Saco, I don't want our pristine environmental and economic resource threatened because of the incompetence and short-sightedness from the White House. Their proposal to allow offshore drilling off Maine's coast is extremely reckless and dangerous on a number of fronts. Imagine the impact to our lobstering and fishing industry and to tourism if there was a major oil spill off Maine's coast. And that's not even taking into account the long-term health effects on residents and animals. And I'm proud to be part of the effort that recently passed a resolution in the Senate that is officially asking the federal government to take Maine off that list. In today's volatile political climate, we could use a lot more courage over courtesy. Now is the time to speak out and loudly, not sit lightly on the sidelines. We need to vocalize our shared values and speak a little truth to power. That's why I'm running to be sent back to the Senate, to continue this fight for you, for us, for Old Orchard Beach. I hope you'll join me in our amazing slate of Democrats running this year. We need you on this team. Together, we can make 2018 the year of a blue revolution. Thank you, Old Orchard Beach.